Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Angela Chineri, and while this would normally be our Motivation Monday video, today we are going to do a special video for Blackout Tuesday. So Blackout Tuesday is a day that we are honoring George Floyd, a man who was senselessly murdered by a police officer in his own community in broad daylight in front of witnesses, and it was absolutely the most tragic thing I've ever seen. The man was begging for his life, and these officers were just completely indifferent to his struggle. And that's what I really wanted to talk about today. So Blackout Tuesday is a day that we're going to honor George Floyd, but we're also going to have these tough discussions and connect with our community, have tough discussions about racism and inequality, and why it is that 52 years after Martin Luther King Jr. Was assassinated, we're still having the same discussion. And it's mind-blowing that here we are. And I know that, so many of my friends and relatives and people in my community, we're not teaching our children to be racist. I think we're teaching them indifference, and that's the problem. The problem is the indifference. When you have officers that are standing there, and a man is dying, literally dying in their hands, and they're doing nothing, that is where the society is falling apart. Because for us to not take action, for us to not speak out is just, it's showing tolerance, and tolerance should not be accepted anymore. We have to stop this. The tolerance of racism, the tolerance of, something as simple as inappropriate comments. These are the ways that the racism and inequality and bigotry, this is the way that it continues in our society, and that's not okay. So, how do we show caring and love when we hear something that's inappropriate? Because this is what happens to us every day, and this is why racism is so pervasive in our society, because we all have those people around us, friends or relatives or neighbors or somebody around us who constantly makes inappropriate comments, whether it's against women, against, Black people, against Hispanic, whatever it is, somebody is making an inappropriate comment, and instead of saying something, we just shrug it off, we roll our eyes, we just say, whatever, that's just how they are. And that's where we need to stop it. That's where we need to stop the inappropriate comment. We need to immediately call them out and say, absolutely not, I'm not okay with that. Please don't say things like that in front of me. Please don't say things like that in front of my child, because our children are listening to this. And, while you're able to laugh it off as an adult thinking, oh, that's just how they are, and you ignore it, our children don't have that same ability to decipher what is right, what is correct, and what is just something that you should ignore. Our children are learning this at an early age, and that's where, they're growing up with this fear of people who are not like them. And so this is where we need to stop that. We need to say, that's not okay. That man didn't do anything to you. That woman didn't do anything to you. You need to, check yourself, make people accountable for who they are and what they're saying. And if that's how they're going to behave, don't go around that person. And I understand that sometimes they're family, and sometimes, these are people that you can't avoid in life, but you can choose what you allow in front of yourself or your children or, your environment, whatever that is. So you need to start making choices about what kind of world you want to live in and what kind of world you want to bring your children up in, because I know for certain I don't want to be fighting this battle in another 50 years, and teaching my grandchildren that racism is not okay. It just seems crazy to me that here we are 52 years later having the same discussion. Why are we still dealing with this? We as a society need to step up and protect those who are dealing with racism and who are getting inappropriate comments. And not to turn this into a sexist discussion, but as a woman, I can tell you that there have been many inappropriate comments made around me, and nobody stepped up to my defense. And, there are times where I have been nervous about being around certain individuals because they have shown some sort of aggression or some sort of animosity towards me as a woman, And, you know, it's made me very uncomfortable, and I've had to remove myself out of that situation. But, you know, as a Black man in society, imagine being nervous to be pulled over by a cop. And while we all have that, you know, moment of anxiety, you know, I at least know I'm going to live through it. And that's where the difference is. You know, I know I'll survive that, and he doesn't. And that's where it's not okay. You know, as a business owner, as a female business owner, I constantly hear from people, wow, that's so incredible that as a woman-owned business, you were able to achieve so much. But it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that way. As anyone, you know, I should have as much ability as a white man who owns a business to succeed. But it's not set up that way. Our system's not set up that way. As a woman, I have to work so much harder and do so much more to prove the same ability as they have. And that's not fair. But if you think it's not fair for a woman, imagine being a Black man, or imagine being a Black woman trying to create a successful business. It's extremely difficult. There are so many more obstacles. There's so many more doubts about you. There's so much more that you have to show that you can do it. Much more than a white man. And I know that that's, you know, a stigma in society of, you know, oh, well, don't bash a white man for being successful, but you don't understand how much harder it is to be a woman or to be a Black man and achieve those same pinnacles of success. And so when I hear that a Black woman is successful at business, I am so incredibly proud of her, because I know what it took to get there. And when I hear that a Black man is successful in business, I know what it took. I know the obstacles and the racism and, you know, the criticism that he faced on the way, on the journey, and it's incredibly challenging. So as a society, we need to do better. We need to support each other more. We need to lift each other up more. We need to absolutely stop the indifference. You know, showing indifference is tolerance. And so we have to stop it. We have to say no more. We have to hold each other accountable. We have to make sure that we are saying, absolutely not, that's not going to happen in my life. It's not going to happen in my society. It's not going to happen in my community. And, you know, when we see people in a profession of power where, you know, whether it's as a police officer or a politician or a teacher, you know, a lot of people will go into a position of authority so that they can direct negative behaviors or negative actions on somebody as a position of authority. And that's really unfortunate, and we have to be hyper vigilant when we have people in those careers who are taking advantage of a position of power. And so we really need to make sure that they're being extra accountable. But I am optimistic that we can turn this around. I am optimistic that as a society we can come together. You know, I think the peaceful protests have been great. I think the solidarity has been great. I'm not so happy with the looting and the rioting, because I think it's misdirected. I think it totally takes the attention away from the good that's being done in the world, and it changes it into a criminal behavior. And anytime you have criminal behavior, I think it shows a really negative view of society, and I think that we're better than that. We are so much better than that. We can put a message out there. We can hold each other accountable. We can do the right thing. We can make better choices, and as a society, we can grow. And but more than anything, we really do need to support each other. We need to lift each other up. We need to make sure that when we have, you know, someone in a room that we feel like, you know, needs a few introductions, make some introductions for them. Do the right thing, lift them up. But you don't understand what it took to get there, and the negativity and the naysayers that they've had to, you know, face. And trust me, as a woman, and I'm sure as a Black man or a Black woman or any other race or culture, I can tell you that the doubts in your head of, you know, what you've heard over and over and over again, that can be the detriment of you. So just overcoming that alone has been incredibly challenging. So, you know, to know that somebody can be successful, help them. Give them a hand, and make sure that you are opening your heart and opening your mind and doing better as a society, as a family, as a friend, and let's lift each other up. All right, thank you so much. Have a great day.